My child, I have been holding something for you, something precious that was always meant to reach your hands, but the season had not yet arrived for you to receive it. Today, that season has finally come. What I am about to place into your life is not something borrowed. It is not temporary. It is an inheritance that was written with your name before you ever drew your first breath. So listen carefully, because every word I speak to you right now carries the weight of heaven behind it. I know you have been carrying something heavy. I have watched you shoulder burdens that were never designed for your frame, weights that pressed down on your spirit until some mornings you wondered if you could even stand up again. You tried to hide the exhaustion from the people around you. You smiled when your chest ached. You answered, "I am fine," when the truth was anything but fine. But I saw through every mask you wore. Not a single tear escaped my attention. Not one sleepless night went unnoticed. Not one whispered prayer dissolved into silence without reaching me. The ache you felt in your heart, I felt it in mine. When your spirit was crushed beneath the weight of disappointment and delay, something stirred inside of me that made me say, "Enough." Because I did not fashion you with these hands only to watch you crumble under pressure that was never yours to carry alone. I shaped you for abundance. I designed you for joy that overflows into every corner of your existence. And the distance between where you have been standing and where I am taking you is about to collapse in a single divine moment. If this message has found you right now, understand that nothing about this encounter is random. I arranged this meeting. Before your eyes landed on these words, I was already preparing your heart to receive them. The timing is not coincidence, it is precision. Because I operate with a specificity that human minds cannot fully grasp. Every second of delay in your life served a purpose that is about to become visible. I know how many opportunities slipped through your fingers when you reached for them. Doors that seemed to swing open only to slam shut the moment you stepped forward. Relationships that promised permanence but delivered abandonment. Financial breakthroughs that appeared on the horizon and then vanished like morning fog. Each of those moments left a mark on your faith. A small fracture that made you wonder whether trusting me was worth the risk of being disappointed again. But here is what you did not see while you were mourning those closed doors. Behind every rejection, I was redirecting. Behind every delay, I was fortifying the foundation beneath your feet so that when the real blessing arrived, you would not crumble under the weight of it. Some gifts require a certain depth of character before they can be safely received. Some doors need to remain shut because what waits on the other side of them would have destroyed you if you had walked through too early. That is not punishment. That is protection. And it has been operating in your life far more aggressively than you realized. Think about the man who could not walk for 38 years, lying beside a pool of healing while others stepped into the water ahead of him season after season. For nearly 4 decades, he watched other people receive what he desperately wanted. The discouragement must have been unbearable. But when the moment of his restoration finally arrived, it did not come through the water at all. It came through a direct encounter with divine power that bypassed every system he had been depending on. The method changed. The source changed. Everything he thought he understood about how healing works was overturned in a single conversation. That is exactly what is happening in your life right now. The systems you have been relying on, the methods you believed were your only options, the timelines you set for yourself based on what seemed reasonable. I am overriding all of it. What is coming to you will not arrive through the channels you expected. It will come from a direction you never considered, through people you have not yet met, in a form that will make you stop and say, "Only God could have arranged this." Pay close attention to what I am about to tell you. The obstacles that stood between you and your breakthrough, I have already begun dismantling them. Not tomorrow, not next week. The dismantling is happening right now as these words settle into your spirit. Forces that worked against your progress have been silenced. Schemes that were designed to keep you trapped in cycles of lack and frustration have been canceled. The invisible walls that boxed you in are cracking from the pressure of what I am releasing into your atmosphere. You may not see it yet with your natural eyes, but something in your spirit already knows that things are shifting. There is a stirring inside you that was not there yesterday. A quiet anticipation that refuses to be reasoned away. That stirring is not wishful thinking. It is your spirit recognizing the frequency of heaven drawing near. When I move toward one of my children with intention, their inner being detects it before their circumstances confirm it. So do not dismiss what you are feeling right now. Do not talk yourself out of the hope that is rising in your chest. That hope is not naive, it is prophetic. It is your spirit bearing witness to what your eyes have not yet seen, but your heart already knows is true. I want you to understand something fundamental about how I operate in the lives of those who belong to me. I do not work on the surface where everyone can see. My deepest and most powerful operations happen in the hidden places, in the underground chambers of circumstance where human eyes cannot penetrate. While you were waiting and wondering if anything was happening at all, I was moving mountains beneath the soil of your situation. People who conspired against your advancement have been dealt with, not through violence or vengeance, but through the quiet rearrangement of influence and access. Doors of opportunity that were blocked by human interference have been cleared by authority that no person can overrule. Financial channels that were dammed up by forces you could not identify have been opened by a hand that operates above every economic system on this earth. You did not see it because it was not time for you to see it. But today, I am pulling back the curtain. I am letting you look behind the scenes at the magnitude of what has been happening on your behalf. And when you see it fully, when the evidence of my faithfulness becomes undeniable in your daily experience, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. You will see that every single day of delay was a day I used to position something in your favor. If these words have reached a place inside your heart that has been longing to hear them, if you sense the truth of what I am speaking settling deep into your bones, then respond with one word in the comments. Type Amen, and let heaven know that you receive this inheritance today. Let that single word become your declaration that you are done waiting in doubt and ready to step into what has always belonged to you. Now I want to go deeper with you, because this message is not simply about material provision or external circumstances changing, although those things are coming. This is about something far more significant that has been unfolding inside of you during every difficult season you have walked through, every hardship you endured, every season of scarcity and emotional drought, every relationship that fell apart and every plan that crumbled. Those experiences were not random acts of cruelty from an indifferent universe. They were the curriculum of a divine education that was preparing you to carry the kind of abundance most people cannot sustain. The weight of great blessing requires a foundation of tested character, and your character has been tested thoroughly. Think about the pressure that transforms rough stone into something priceless. The process is violent. It is uncomfortable. It involves heat, compression, and a relentless grinding. But the result is something that commands value wherever it is placed. You have been inside that process, and you did not know it. Every tear was a chisel stroke. Every disappointment was heat applied to your formation. Every moment you thought you were breaking, you were actually being refined. That is why some people receive good things and lose them quickly, while others receive good things and multiply them into generational impact. The difference is not luck. It is not favoritism. It is preparation. And your preparation has been more thorough than you realize. I remember the nights you stayed awake arguing with your own doubt. The mornings when getting out of bed required more courage than most people spend in an entire week. I remember when you looked at other people receiving their answers and you wondered if your turn would ever come. The comparison was brutal. The loneliness of unanswered prayer felt like a verdict rather than a season. But you kept going. You kept going. When your faith was reduced to a thread so thin it seemed invisible, you refused to let go of it entirely. That thread, that microscopic strand of belief that you clung to in your darkest moments, was not weakness. It was the most powerful force operating in your situation, because faith does not require volume to be effective. It requires persistence. And you persisted when every rational argument told you to quit. That persistence has been recorded. Every act of quiet endurance. Every time you chose to believe me when believing made no sense to anyone watching. Every prayer you whispered through tears that you thought went nowhere. All of it has been cataloged in a ledger that determines the scope and scale of what I release into a person's life. And your ledger is full. If this truth stirs something in your spirit right now, if gratitude is beginning to rise inside your chest as you recognize the faithfulness that has been operating behind the scenes of your struggle, take one moment right now and tap that like button. Not as a casual gesture, but as a deliberate act of agreement with what heaven has been doing in your story. Let that small action carry the weight of your recognition that the God who started this work in you is the same God who is completing it today. There is something else I need to address with you today, something you have carried in silence because you did not know who to tell. The battles that have been raging around your life were not all visible to you. Some of the fiercest conflicts happened in dimensions your physical senses cannot detect. Forces that wanted to keep you locked in patterns of defeat. Entities that fed on your confusion and amplified your fear. Systems of oppression that were specifically assigned to your bloodline. I have been confronting all of them. While you were lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering why sleep would not come, I was dismantling strongholds that had operated unchallenged for generations before you were born. While you were struggling to find the energy to face another day, I was severing chains that had attached themselves to your family line and were attempting to transfer their weight onto your shoulders. These were not battles you could have fought on your own. They required authority that exists above every principality and power, and that authority belongs to me. Some of those chains are already broken. You may not have noticed the shift yet, but there is a lightness forming in spaces that used to feel permanently heavy. Thought patterns that once spiraled downward without resistance are beginning to lose their grip. Emotional reactions that used to overwhelm you in seconds are starting to feel more manageable. These are not coincidences. These are the evidence of chains falling away from your mind and spirit. The season of constant struggle, of fighting the same battles over and over without gaining ground. That season is reaching its expiration. I am not merely adjusting your circumstances. I am dismantling the entire framework that kept producing the same painful outcomes in your life. When I restore, I do not patch holes. I rebuild from the foundation up, and the structure I am building for your next season is designed to withstand pressures that would have collapsed anything you have known before. If you have been walking through this journey with me and you sense that these messages are becoming a lifeline for your spirit, if this channel has become a place where heaven speaks directly into your situation week after week, take a moment right now and subscribe so you never miss what I have prepared for you next. Every message builds on the last, and what is coming in the days ahead will carry even more specific instructions for your season. I want you to understand something about the nature of divine timing that most people miss entirely. When I delay a blessing, it is never because I forgot about you. It is never because your request was lost in a crowd of voices. The delay itself is an instrument I use to build something inside you that the blessing requires in order to survive its own weight. A tree that grows too quickly snaps in the first storm. But a tree whose roots were forced to dig deep through seasons of resistance, that tree can carry the weight of fruit that feeds an entire household for generations. Your roots have been growing deeper than you know. The depth of what you endured is directly proportional to the magnitude of what I am about to release. Let me continue revealing what has been happening beneath the surface of your waiting. Because there is a dimension to your story that you have not been able to see. And I want to illuminate it for you today so that your faith has something concrete to stand on. During the years when nothing seemed to be moving forward, when every effort felt like pushing against an immovable wall, I was doing something that required absolute stillness on your part. I was rearranging the constellation of people, resources, and timing that your breakthrough requires. This was not a simple task. It involved coordinating hundreds of independent elements across different locations, different timelines, and different people's decisions, all converging toward a single moment that would unlock everything at once. That moment is closer than you think. In fact, the convergence has already begun. Small signs are appearing, subtle shifts that the untrained eye might dismiss as coincidence, a conversation with someone you did not expect, a thought that arrived with unusual clarity, a door creaking open that you assumed was permanently sealed. These are the advanced signals of what I am bringing into full manifestation in your life. I need you to sharpen your attention in the days ahead. Do not sleepwalk through this season. Do not let the routine of daily life numb you to the extraordinary things I am positioning around you. Stay alert. Stay expectant. Because when the breakthrough arrives in its fullness, you will need to be awake and ready to step through the door the moment it opens. The provision that is coming will not arrive in a trickle. After a prolonged dry season, it comes like rain, one blessing after another, in rapid succession, until every area of lack in your life has been addressed. Your finances, your health, your relationships, your purpose, your peace of mind. None of these categories will be left untouched by what I am releasing into your atmosphere right now. And the blessing will not stop with you. The people you carry in your heart, the names you whisper to me in your private prayers, they will feel the overflow of what I am doing in your life. Families that have been fractured by misunderstanding and resentment will begin to find pathways back to each other. Children who wandered away from the values they were raised with will start to feel a pull they cannot explain, a gravitational force drawing them back toward truth. Marriages that have been strained to their breaking point will discover reservoirs of patience and tenderness they did not know still existed. When I move on behalf of one person, the ripple reaches everyone connected to them. That is the nature of my blessing. It is never contained. It always multiplies beyond the borders of the individual who receives it. Now I want to speak to you about the people in your life who are silently carrying the same weight you have been carrying. You know who they are. You can see it in their eyes even when they insist everything is fine. The friend who laughs a little too loudly to cover the emptiness underneath. The family member who has grown quieter than they used to be. The coworker whose shoulders carry a tension that never seems to release. They are fighting battles they have not named, and many of them do not know that someone sees their struggle. This message was not designed for your ears alone. It was designed to travel. Think of at least 3 people right now who cry when nobody is watching, who pray in private but feel like their prayers hit the ceiling and bounce back, who have been waiting for a sign that heaven has not forgotten them. Send this message to them today. Share it in your family group chat. Post it in your church group on Facebook. Forward it in a text message to someone who needs to hear these words as desperately as you did. When you share what has been given to you, you are not merely forwarding a video. You are extending a lifeline to someone who may be one conversation away from giving up entirely. Now listen with everything you have, because what I am about to reveal to you will change the way you understand everything that has happened in your life. there's been a wall between you and your breakthrough. Not a wall built by your enemies. Not a wall constructed by difficult circumstances. The wall was built by something far more subtle and far more powerful, and it has been operating in your life for so long that you stopped noticing it was there. That wall is the story you have been telling yourself about who you are somewhere along the way. After enough disappointments piled up and enough doors closed in your face, you began to construct an internal narrative that placed a ceiling over your expectation. You began to believe that you were the kind of person things did not work out for. The kind of person who watches from the sidelines while others receive. The kind of person who tries hard but never quite reaches the finish line. That story was never true, but you repeated it so many times in the quiet chambers of your mind that it calcified into something that felt like fact. That is what has been blocking you. Not your lack of talent. Not your lack of effort. Not the economy or your age or your location or the mistakes you made 10 years ago. The blockage was a false identity that you accepted as truth because the evidence of your circumstances seemed to support it. But circumstances are not verdicts. They are seasons. And seasons change. Today, I am demolishing that wall. I am taking a wrecking ball to every lie you internalized about your own limitations. I am tearing down the ceiling you placed over your own expectation. Because of the person you believed you were. The person who does not receive, who always falls short, who watches others succeed while their own prayers remain unanswered. That person does not exist. That person was a fiction written by pain and endorsed by fear. And fiction has no authority over your future. The real you, the person I created and called and positioned for this exact moment in history, is someone capable of carrying blessing that would stagger the imagination of the person you used to think you were. The real you is not defined by your track record. The real you is defined by my word over your life. And my word says you are an heir. My word says you are chosen. My word says the plans I have for you are designed for good and not for destruction, to give you a future overflowing with hope. That identity is not something you have to earn. It is something you have to accept. And accepting it is the key that unlocks the door I have been holding open for you. This is the moment of truth for you. And I need you to receive it with open hands and an open heart. The identity I am restoring to you is not merely a spiritual concept. It has practical implications that will manifest in every area of your existence. When you stop operating from a posture of lack and begin operating from the posture of inheritance, doors respond differently to you. People respond differently to you. Opportunities respond differently to you. Not because the world changed, but because you changed. And the world always responds to the frequency you carry. For years, you walked into rooms carrying the frequency of someone who expected rejection. You entered situations braced for disappointment. You pursued opportunities while simultaneously preparing yourself for failure. That frequency was a signal that repelled the very things you were praying for. Not because you deserved rejection, but because the energy of expectation shapes the trajectory of outcomes in ways that most people never understand. Starting today, you carry a different signal. The signal of someone who knows who they are and whose they are. The signal of someone who walks into rooms not hoping for crumbs but expecting a seat at the table. The signal of someone who has been tested and refined and is now ready to handle the weight of extraordinary blessing without being crushed by it. This is your exhale. The moment you stop holding your breath and let the relief of knowing wash over you completely. You have been seen. You have been known. You have been chosen. And the inheritance that was always yours is no longer being held in reserve. It is being released into your hands right now. Let that truth breathe in you for a moment. Let it settle into the tired places. Let it reach the chambers of your heart where doubt built its fortress. Because what I have spoken cannot be reversed by human opinion or circumstance. What I have declared over your life stands regardless of what any voice of opposition has tried to whisper in your ear. Now receive this declaration and speak it with authority into your own atmosphere. Type these words and let them become a stake driven into the ground of your future. The false story about my life is finished. I accept my true identity as an heir of divine promise. What belongs to me is no longer delayed. That declaration is not poetry. It is a weapon that dismantles every stronghold of limitation that has been operating in your belief system. My beloved child, as you sit in this moment of clarity and relief, I want to show you something beautiful about the work that is spreading across the earth through messages like this one. Every week, thousands of hearts are being touched by these words. People who felt invisible are discovering that heaven sees them. People who gave up on prayer are finding their way back to conversation with me. People who carried shame and self-condemnation for decades are learning for the first time that my love has no conditions attached to it. This work, this mission of bringing my voice into the lives of the forgotten, the broken, and the overlooked, does not sustain itself through algorithms or marketing strategies. It grows because people like you choose to invest in it. When you visit the link in the description or the pinned comment and support this work through Ko-Fi, whether through a simple donation or by becoming a member of this community, you are doing more than making a financial contribution. You are placing your seed into soil that produces eternal fruit. Every dollar becomes a message that reaches a grandmother praying alone in her kitchen at midnight. Every contribution becomes a word of hope delivered to someone sitting in a hospital waiting room with no one beside them. I do not take lightly the sacrifice of someone who gives from a willing heart. When you support this mission, I see it, I honor it, and the seed you plant returns to you in ways that transcend what money alone can measure. Now let us continue, because there is still so much I need to show you about what is ahead. I want to talk to you about the dreams you buried, the ones you stopped mentioning because you decided that wanting them was foolish, the aspirations you locked away in a chamber of your heart and covered with layers of practicality and lowered expectations until you almost forgot they were there. I know those dreams, every single one of them, because I was the one who planted them inside you. They were never random fantasies produced by an overactive imagination. They were seeds of purpose that I embedded into the fabric of your being before you were formed. They were glimpses of the life I designed for you, previews of the contribution your existence was meant to make on this earth. When life got harder and the weight of responsibility pressed those dreams down into the soil of forgetting, I did not forget them. When you stopped believing they were possible and filed them under things that will never happen, I kept them alive. Like seeds buried deep underground through a long winter, they remain dormant but intact, waiting for the warmth of the right season to trigger their awakening. This is that season. Right now, as these words enter your awareness, those seeds are beginning to stir. You may have felt it already. A sudden interest in something you abandoned years ago. A flicker of excitement about a possibility you had written off as unrealistic. A moment when you caught yourself daydreaming and thought, where did that come from? Those stirrings are not nostalgia. They are the first green shoots of purpose pushing up through the surface of a season that tried to bury them permanently. Do not dismiss them. Do not rationalize them away. Do not tell yourself it is too late because of your age or your circumstances, or the number of years that have passed since you last allowed yourself to hope. The words "too late" do not exist in my vocabulary. I operate outside the boundaries of human timelines. What seems impossible by earthly calculation is routine in my economy. Think about the people throughout history who received their greatest assignments after the world had already counted them out. Leaders who began their most significant work in their 7th and 8th decades. Creators who produced their defining masterpieces after years of obscurity and rejection. Builders who laid the foundations of legacy long after conventional wisdom said the construction window had closed. Their stories are not exceptions. They are evidence of how I work. And your story is being written according to the same pattern. The dreams I am awakening in you are not merely personal indulgences. They carry purpose that extends far beyond your own satisfaction. When those dreams come to fruition, and they will come to fruition, they will touch your family. They will impact your community. They will reach people you have never met and create ripple effects in generations you will never see with your own eyes, because when I ignite a purpose in one life, it always multiplies into something larger than the individual who carries it. Now, let me go deeper into the hidden places, because there is a revelation waiting for you that will shift the ground beneath your understanding of everything you have experienced. I want to speak to you about your purpose with a level of clarity you have not received before. I know there have been seasons when you went through the motions of daily life, wondering if there was something more. Something beyond the bills, the obligations, the routines, and the sheer effort of simply getting through another 24 hours. You asked yourself questions that you never voiced to anyone else. Why am I here? What is my life actually supposed to accomplish? Is there a reason for all of this? Or am I just surviving until it is over? Those questions were not signs of weakness. They were signs of depth. They were your spirit reaching for something that your circumstances could not provide. And the answer is simpler and more profound than any system of human philosophy could offer you. Your purpose is woven into the fabric of who you already are. It does not require you to become someone different. It does not demand that you acquire credentials or titles or platforms. Your purpose lives in the way you carry yourself through adversity with a grace that others cannot explain. It lives in your capacity to sit with someone in their pain without trying to fix them or flee from the discomfort. It lives in the steady strength you offer to people who are falling apart. The kind of strength that does not advertise itself, but is felt by everyone who encounters it. You will discover things about yourself in the months ahead that will genuinely surprise you. Gifts you did not know you possessed. Capacities that were stored inside you like sealed packages, waiting for the right moment to be opened. Skills that were preserved through seasons of dormancy and are now ready to emerge with a power that would not have been possible if they had been activated prematurely. All of them were placed inside you by my hand, and this is the season when they begin to awaken. Do not be startled when you find yourself doing things you never thought you could do. Do not resist the unfamiliar expansion. That surprise is part of the journey. You are discovering what has been inside you all along, hidden beneath layers of self-doubt and circumstantial limitation. And each discovery will build upon the last until you barely recognize the person you are becoming. Not because you are being erased, but because you are being uncovered. Now I want to speak directly to the part of you that carries concern about your health. I know that there are areas of your body that have not been functioning as they should. Pain that has become so familiar, you almost stopped reporting it. Conditions that medical professionals have struggled to explain or resolve. Symptoms that wake you at odd hours and plant seeds of worry that grow into forests of anxiety by morning. I see every cell. I know every system, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. There is not a single aspect of your physical being that escapes my attention. And I am the one who heals, not as a secondary function, not as an afterthought. Healing is central to my character, and it is active in your body right now. Bring to me the diagnosis that felt like a death sentence. Bring me the pain that no medication seems to touch. Bring me the worry about test results and the fear of what the next appointment might reveal. I am working on every part of you, above what medicine can accomplish on its own, beyond the limits of what treatment protocols were designed to address. I am performing restoration at a cellular level that no human instrument can detect, but your body will confirm in the days ahead. But my healing extends beyond the physical. I am also reaching into the emotional wounds that time alone could never close, the memories that still sting when they surface without warning, the betrayals that left scars on your ability to trust, the grief that settled into the corners of your heart like dust in an abandoned room, accumulating so gradually that you stopped noticing how much it weighed. I am the restorer of what was broken in the deepest places, the places no one else can see, the places you protected so fiercely that even the people closest to you never knew they existed. I am reaching into those rooms today, not to expose them to judgment, but to flood them with a light that dissolves the darkness they have been soaking in for years. When this healing takes root, it will feel like a fresh start, like a weight you carried for so long that you forgot what it felt like to stand up straight has suddenly been lifted. Your steps will feel lighter. Your breath will come easier. Your capacity for joy will expand into spaces that grief had colonized and claimed as permanent territory. Let me also address the financial pressure that has been a constant companion in your daily experience. I know how draining it has been to stretch every resource to its limit, to lie awake calculating whether the numbers will add up, to carry a perpetual undercurrent of worry about money that colors everything else in your life with a shade of anxiety. You were not designed to live under the tyranny of financial fear. That weight is not your permanent condition. I am capable of opening channels of provision that defy every projection and every limitation you have accepted as fixed. Unexpected assistance, unforeseen opportunities, resources arriving from directions you never looked because you assumed they were closed. This does not mean that your entire financial landscape will transform by tomorrow morning, but it does mean that the trajectory is changing. Doors that appeared welded shut are beginning to loosen. Connections that will lead to provision are being arranged right now in rooms you have never entered. And when the shift becomes visible, receive it with gratitude rather than disbelief. Because what I am sending is not lucky timing. It is inheritance that was always scheduled for this season of your life. Speak this declaration over your life right now and let it become a landmark in your journey. Type these words: my body is being healed. My provision is being released. My purpose is being activated. This is the season I was made for. That declaration is not a wish cast into empty air. It is a statement of agreement, with a decree that carries the full backing of heaven. Something is already different inside you. Whether you feel it fully yet or not, a shift has taken place in the atmosphere around your life that will become increasingly visible in the days ahead. What was dormant is awakening. What was delayed is accelerating. What was denied is being overturned by an authority that does not negotiate with circumstance. Now, I want to speak about the people you carry in your heart and lift up in your prayers, with a consistency that would move anyone who knew the full depth of your devotion. The family members whose choices have robbed you of sleep. The children or grandchildren whose paths have veered into territory that fills you with a worry you cannot voice to anyone without feeling like you are betraying their trust. The friends whose silent struggles you detect behind their carefully constructed smiles, because your heart is wired with an empathy that most people cannot fathom. I can reach every single one of them. No one you love has wandered beyond the perimeter of my authority. No one is entangled in a situation so knotted that I cannot untangle it strand by strand. Every whispered prayer you offered for someone else, every tear you shed in private on their behalf, every night you stayed awake interceding for a person whose name only you and I share in that sacred context. Those prayers were working, not on a timeline your eyes could track, but on a divine schedule that accounts for variables no human mind can calculate. The resistance you felt, the sensation that your prayers were colliding with an invisible barrier and falling short of their target, that was never a sign of failure. It was the sound of fortifications being dismantled on the far side of the wall. Breakthroughs for the people you love are moving toward them from directions neither they nor you have anticipated. You will begin to notice subtle but unmistakable shifts. A conversation that carries a tone you have not heard from that person in years. A decision that reflects a wisdom you were not sure they possessed. A softening in someone who had grown rigid and unreachable. These changes may begin as barely perceptible adjustments, but they are real, and they will compound over time into a transformation so thorough that you will look back one day and trace every piece of it to a prayer you prayed when you thought no one was listening. Let me also address the deepest relationships in your life, the marriages, partnerships, and enduring friendships that have been tested by pressures most people cannot imagine. If you have walked through seasons where the bond between you and someone you love was strained to its absolute limit, where remaining together demanded more resilience than either of you believed you had, then hear me clearly. The connection that survives that kind of trial is not the same as a connection that has never been challenged. It is forged. It is tempered. It carries a tensile strength that comfort alone could never produce. And if you are navigating this season without a partner, if you have searched the quiet rooms of your heart and wondered whether being alone means being overlooked, I am dismantling that lie with authority right now. A season of solitude is not a verdict of rejection. It is often a sacred workshop where I prepare both you and the person who will eventually walk beside you for the kind of partnership that endures. Choosing to wait for genuine alignment rather than settling out of loneliness is not weakness. It is wisdom that protects you from the devastation of mismatched souls trying to force a harmony that was never written into their design. Something in your relational landscape is about to shift. Whether it is restoration bringing two fractured hearts back together, deepening that takes a surface-level bond into genuine intimacy, or the arrival of someone whose entrance into your life carries the unmistakable scent of divine orchestration. Movement is imminent, and when it materializes, you will recognize my signature across every detail of how it unfolded. Think of two people right now whose faith has been worn thin by the weight of what they carry in silence. Send this message to them today. Forward it in a text to someone who has been on your heart this week, or share it in your WhatsApp group where believers encourage one another. What ministered to your spirit was never designed to stop with you alone. And if these messages have become a steady anchor in your walk with me, make sure you are subscribed to this channel so that what I am preparing for you next does not pass by unnoticed. Now, I want to say something directly to a part of you that has been waiting to hear these words for longer than you can remember. You do not need to transform yourself into someone different to earn your place in this world. You do not need to continuously perform, prove, or position yourself for acceptance. The approval you have been chasing from human sources was never the approval that would satisfy the deepest hunger in your spirit, because that hunger was designed to be met by one source alone. And that source has already declared you worthy, without requiring a single qualification beyond your existence. My love for you has never been conditional. It has never fluctuated based on your productivity, your appearance, your bank account, or your ability to maintain the image of someone who has everything under control. I love you in your strength, and I love you in your collapse. I love you when your faith blazes like a furnace, and I love you when it barely smolders. That love is the ground you stand on, the bedrock beneath every other reality in your life, and it has never shifted by a single degree. Now prepare your heart, because what I am about to speak carries the force of a divine commission that draws the line between everything you have known and everything you are about to enter. Today is the day I charge you with a mandate that will reshape the entire trajectory of your future. Hear me with your whole being, not merely your ears or your intellect, but the deepest place inside you where my voice carries an authority no earthly voice can replicate. I charge you today to release every false narrative you internalized about your own unworthiness. Let it fall from your hands like a chain that has already been unlocked, but you continue to grip out of sheer habit. You are not inadequate. You are not the sum of your failures. You are not the product of your worst decisions. You are the meticulously designed, intentionally positioned, divinely equipped ear of a kingdom that refuses to operate by the rules of the world that tried to define you by your wounds. I charge you today to stop shrinking yourself to fit inside spaces that were always too small for you. Stop dimming the brilliance I planted in your spirit because someone once told you it was excessive. Your light was never too much. Their capacity to receive it was too limited, and accommodating their limitation was never your assignment. I charge you today to expect the extraordinary, not from a place of entitlement or arrogance, but from the natural posture of someone who has been tested in fire and emerged with a readiness that only suffering can produce. Your trials were not punishments designed to break you. They were the qualifying examination for a level of blessing that requires proven character to sustain. You have been qualified. And the certification was signed in the ink of every tear you shed while still choosing to believe. I charge you today to walk into every room, every conversation, every decision with the quiet, unshakable certainty that the architect of the universe knows your name, holds your life in his grip, and has assigned you a mission that no other soul on this earth is equipped to carry. Not with aggression, not with self-importance, but with the steady confidence of someone operating under orders from the highest authority in existence. This is not a suggestion you can take or leave. It is a commission. And from this moment forward, your steps carry a weight and an authority that transform every ordinary day into a page of sacred history being written through your willingness to show up. Think about the ancient builder who surveyed the demolished walls of a city everyone else had abandoned as beyond repair. He did not wait for ideal conditions. He did not demand that every critic be silenced or every supply chain be secured before picking up the first stone. He began with what was available. He started from the exact position he occupied. And, though the opposition was fierce and the mockery relentless, what he constructed stood. It stood because the commission behind it flowed from a source that no human conspiracy could overrule. Your life operates under the same architecture of divine backing. The structures that collapsed in your past, the walls that crumbled around your expectations, they are being rebuilt, not through your effort alone, but through a partnership between your availability and my power that accomplishes what neither could produce independently. And the new structure will be stronger than the original. It will shelter not only you, but everyone whose life intersects with yours. The days ahead contain pivotal moments that will require you to make decisions without complete information. Doors will present themselves that lead to unfamiliar ground. Relationships will form that carry significance from the very first exchange. When those moments arrive, do not retreat into the familiar comfort of hesitation. The same presence that preserved you in every valley is already stationed at every threshold, arranging the environment in your favor before your foot crosses the line. Your story is still being written. The chapters that remain hold more beauty, more impact, and more divine surprise than the complete collection of everything you have already lived. The past was the furnace. This season is the release. And what emerges from this release will make every delay, every closed door, and every unanswered prayer retroactively make sense in ways your current understanding cannot accommodate. Now hear the final decree. I am sealing over your life the most authoritative words that will be spoken over you today, and let them burn into your spirit with a permanence that no storm, no season, and no force in existence can wash away. I decree that every chain of generational limitation bound to your bloodline is severed in this moment. It will not follow you into your next season. It will not transfer to your children. The cycle that operated unchallenged for generations before you drew breath is terminated by an authority that no spiritual entity and no human institution can contest or reverse. That cycle ends here. It ends now. I decree that your health is being restored to a completeness that surpasses your condition before the illness, before the decline, before the diagnosis that frightened you. I am not returning you to baseline. I am elevating you to a vitality your body has never known, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Healing is coursing through every system with a thoroughness that leaves nothing unaddressed. I decree that your finances are transitioning from survival to overflow. Not overflow for accumulation, but overflow for impact. You will have sufficiency for your needs, generosity for the people you love, and capacity to participate in the work of heaven on this earth with a freedom that brings you deep and lasting joy. I decree that your purpose is no longer dormant. It is activated and operational from this day forward. Every morning you open your eyes carries a significance that extends infinitely beyond personal survival. You are a carrier of light positioned precisely where the darkness is deepest, and your presence alone shifts the atmosphere of every room you enter. This decree is irrevocable. It will not be withdrawn by doubt. It will not be eroded by slow progress. It will not be overruled by the verdict of any human being alive or departed. What I have spoken over you today is sealed by the highest authority in the universe, and it will accomplish exactly what it was dispatched to do. Type this final declaration and let it become the seal on everything you received today. I accept the full decree spoken over my life. My chains are severed. My healing is active. My provision is released. My purpose is alive. I step into my inheritance today, and I will never go back. My child, as this message draws to its close, I want you to understand that everything spoken over you today was not designed to produce a momentary wave of emotion that recedes by morning. It was designed to install a permanent foundation beneath your feet that will hold you steady through every storm and every celebration your future contains. You walked faithfully through terrain that would have destroyed most people, and I am deeply pleased with you. Not because you performed without flaw, but because you stayed when everything in you wanted to walk away. I want to remind you of the community of faithful hearts who walk this road beside you. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you can visit Ko-fi and become part of this mission in a way that outlives this conversation. Whether through a one-time donation that carries hope into a stranger's darkest hour, or by joining as a member to stand alongside a family that lifts one another in daily prayer, your participation matters. Every seed you plant through this work becomes a word of comfort delivered to someone who has no one else to tell them they are seen. Visit Ko-fi through the link in the description or the pinned comment, and let your generosity find its soil today. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel so that the message I have already prepared for you next does not pass you by. And take one slow breath right now. Let your shoulders release the tension they have been holding, and carry this truth with you into every moment that follows. Now bow your head with me, and let these final words settle over your spirit, like oil poured upon wounds that are finally ready to heal. Heavenly Father, I lift this precious child into your hands right now. Every burden they carried into this moment, take it from their shoulders and replace it with your peace. Every fear that whispered to them in the dark, Silence it with the authority of your love. Every wound that time alone could not close. Touch it now with the same hand that positioned the stars and commanded the seas to know their boundaries. Let your peace, the peace that exceeds every human explanation and outlasts every earthly circumstance, settle over their heart tonight and remain there as a permanent resident. Protect their rest. Guard the borders of their mind. Order their steps into the fullness of every promise spoken over them today. Bless the labor of their hands, bless the dreams awakening inside them after years of silence. And let them walk forward from this moment knowing, truly knowing in the deepest chamber of their being, that they are loved without condition, chosen without hesitation, and held by a grip that will never, ever let them go. In the mighty and matchless name that stands above every name. Amen.